Okay, you guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jenith Blackert,
And I'm Leonka Reina.
and this is the How to Hustle Morning Show. Today, we are talking about the remembrance of you. And we're going to talk a lot about past life regression and really playing in the field of the Akash via past lives and past life regression. So that's where we're headed today. We've had quite the amazing couple days. I have to say, I spent the last 3 days in the hot springs in Arkansas, so I'm a little bit like disheveled, to say the least. I feel like I've just been wrung out and I am back, but got to the point that I had detoxed so much that I just had like all this clarity. It was so fun. Leonka, how have you been in California?
So I have really enjoyed being in California. Of course, everyone knows that my mom works here now at Disney, and she works in costuming. So she's always really excited to show us about the different costumes that are coming out, and they do all this fun stuff. But we had also just come back from a really cool cruise, which was nice. And was one of those things where my phone didn't work, my internet didn't work, and even though I paid for the like extended package and the internet, I still was unable to get on consistently. So it was one of those forced, it was one of those forced like quiet. You should use this time, Leonka, to meditate. So I finally was like, okay, I surrender. I
Right?
will use this time to really go inside and just be with myself in the water. And it was gorgeous and great. So, but I'm still traveling, so I won't be back till Wednesday into my Austin area and my own bed. So that'll be so nice to be able to do.
Yeah. Well, today I feel that this is the perfect topic because it's sort of funny in my brain. I feel like I separated past life regression with like the remembrance of all that we are in the field,
Ah, why?
right? I don't
I'm
know. Like,
curious.
yeah, I guess I just I sometimes have these moments where I have to remind myself that wait, if the timelines are happening simultaneously, then you know how do we call it past? And I think that just the wording has tripped me up, and I almost want to redefine the wording around it because it still feels like it's like, well, it happened before, but really it could be happening simultaneously. It could be
Yeah.
happening in the future.
Yeah.
And I just want to dive all into it. We haven't really had a conversation with the group from your perspective around it. So let's go
Yeah.
ahead and start with well, wait, before we do that, we've got some announcements.
That's right.
Okay.
Look at us trying to jump the gun and get all
Don't, we're
into the
trying to
content.
jump into the good stuff.
Yeah, that's
No,
right.
the announcements are the good stuff this
It
time,
is
though.
too. That's right. So we have had some really crazy things go on, and one of them is the launch of a TV reality series or show that we had filmed back in July. So this is 1 year later, where we were on this really cool entrepreneur. It's called the largest entrepreneur live-in reality competition in the world. And there are 90,000 people that are invited to apply. And Jenneth and I were one of 100. So out of the 90,000, they choose 100. And Jenneth and I, our business, was chosen to come and film season 17. And that just got released on Sunday. We're really proud of our standing. We're really proud, especially since we had just started the business and just started How It Hustle at around that time in full concept. And so we got there and we had a really great time, really defining who we serve, how we serve, and really how we differentiate ourselves from other businesses, and really representing for the mystical and spiritual businesses right of today. Teaching people that we share of what is the new how and what is the new hustle, and being all about sustainability and collaboration, and how our company really has its own inertia because it's about great partnerships for the betterment of the earth, for ourselves, and for each other. So we were really trying to, and I don't say trying, I think we did a really great job of
We did. We
really
got
defining what.
notifications that were like,
Yeah.
you're right up there. Don't worry
Yes.
yet.
Yeah, and explaining how doing business from a very mystical, spiritual aspect can be a little bit different. Following the energy as opposed to just going out there and hitting the pavement. Really being in flow and asking questions of our divine and our higher selves and source, rather than being like forcing and struggle and strife. And so we were really excited to put that on full display. And a lot of people really received it. There were a lot of other holistic businesses, wouldn't you say, Janet, that were
Yeah, a
there?
lot of them.
Yeah, to talk a little bit about that too. And
Yeah. So one of the girls that we were in the room with that was in one of our little groups one of the days, she actually had a chakra smelling product.
yeah,
And she was just like, it carries all the frequencies of this and that. And we're like, yes.
yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And we've had a lot on the show that
yeah,
we really connected with as well. The Beauty Way girl who actually also lives right here in Austin, and she's just rocking her business now. And we've had the Belly Girl, and if you watch
yeah,
the series, she's on
Happy
stage a
Belly.
lot. Yeah,
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 yeah.
and she just had really good chops around it for sure.
She did. She had
Yeah.
definitely been doing her business for a good hot minute.
Yeah, she
And
knew exactly how to
yeah,
explain it, exactly how to help people. And it's just, if you're an entrepreneur thinking about being an entrepreneur, I really think it's a show that can really help in almost any entrepreneur. And it's got this little competition component to the back. The premise of it is you get up every morning, you come down, you have breakfast with everyone, and then you get trained for about 2.5 hours on a topic, and he has his own lingo and his own language, and then they give you a 15-minute break, and you come back, and then they show you what you're going to pitch on, and you are like, dude, I'm going to pitch on this, and you've got to include some of the components from the lesson that you just learned. And I think that was one of the things that caught me, and we're like, okay, how do they judge this, right? So we're looking to see if they're like checking off keywords from the earlier conversation. I think sometimes we overthought it a little bit, but we did good, and we got help, and there were some, like, all of the judges are multimillionaires. So we really got some, hands-on help right at the beginning of growing this business.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, which I found super valuable. I mean, Janet, I looked at Janet and, because we didn't know if we were going to go. I mean, it's daunting, and I thought it might be a little bit catty, right? You always hear about these reality
yeah,
series
right. You thought it was
competitions.
like going to be Real
It's
Housewives
like,
or something, right? No, it was actually the opposite of
it was
that.
not that.
Everyone
Yes.
was there trying to help you and support you, and it's just really fun. You might episode 1 is up now, and it will be in the YouTube caption, and we'll just keep sharing it every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's been a year, and my cousin, it works in reality TV and they do competitions. And so she's like, I can talk about it, but not for like a year. And so and I didn't realize how much can change in a year. And of course, you all have
Right,
been with us throughout this whole year.
right,
But when we were there, the entire premise, it was very reassuring to know that we had this much momentum behind starting our business, and then being able to work with these really great entrepreneurs for that, for a week live in, like all you did was learn about the different aspects of growing your business, And I mean, in all the things, right? So the social media had a batch. I mean, all the fun things. So, if we're ever teaching on this, just know it comes from a really, really predefined space, and we already know what we're talking about because we lived it and we punched our way through. And I don't think that it wasn't even a punch our way through. It was really like we challenged ourselves. And so the biggest challenge wasn't against our competition. It
Yeah.
was up against ourselves and where our thresholds of, how much gumption and how much you can put forth in sharing your vision, your dream. And I thought Jenneth and I did a remarkable job. So it was really fun, and I highly recommend anybody to go. I looked at Jenneth one day, and I was going to say that I was worried about it being all catty and stuff. And then she looked at me at the end and she goes, "This changed my life." And I said,
Yeah.
"Yes." So for
Well,
the
it
experience
even
alone,
changed our lives on how we're going to run our event and how
yes,
we're going to, help other people. Like, when you're like the only person at an event and you haven't brought a friend like I do, and you feel like, oh, am I actually going to be able to connect and talk to others? I really feel like some of the setup around the way they built the community so that they almost forced you to get to know each other.
yes,
They forced you, each of us, to talk about ourselves, to talk about our business. And then afterwards, we had the stage to talk about ourselves. Then it was like that people would just come up and ask questions. And so
yeah.
that became like how we interacted. They asked questions and then we asked them questions. And then it really became quite a dynamic way of community. I
Yes.
even felt,
Yes, it
yeah.
was very extraordinary in that
Mhm.
fashion, and that is why we've had several people be on the show. We have a list of people
Yeah.
that we would like to connect with and have on the show even after the host series airs, so that you'll have more insight and perspective. And so we'll do a whole bunch of fun stuff around that too. But as Jenneth also mentioned, it also really showed about how we will conduct our live events going forward. So speaking of live events.
Yes, we have a live event
Segways.
November 7th, 8th, and 9th coming to Austin, Texas, and you all are invited. Currently, we have an early bird ticket happening for $97. So please grab it now before June 30th if you want to join us here for a shindig. We're going to be doing
Yeah,
a lot of body work. Yeah, I feel like, it's great to have some of these frequencies in your mind, but having them and embody them. I mean, I don't know how many people just notice like the way I walk or who I am. It's very different than other people in this reality. I can't express that enough. There's an openness that you get when you work with these energies through your body and not just all heady stuff. And talking about heady stuff, we will be running bars because I am in love with them. And I really feel like that integration with some of my work that I did do with Access Consciousness at the time is really important for us to integrate.
that's right. So if you were confused or want to know what bars is, it is called the Access Consciousness bars. And I completely agree about the body work. A lot of the stuff that I do with QHHT also infuses the body. In fact, we ask the higher self to do a full body scan. And where there are elements, we ask the higher self to, during a QHHT session, to work on those areas if they are available for needing work, right? If they are not for a current lesson, then the body can literally go in and start to heal those essence, those areas in which you have held some trauma or past life expression. And sometimes it can be a really great expression, and sometimes we need to bring that more forth. And so that is another aspect that can be held and that we can experience while we're doing stuff with the body. And it's very, very, very fascinating during the
Absolutely.
live event. I'm super excited.
No, it'll be great. If you want to get your ticket, you can get it at houthustle.com/early bird until June 30th. It's just $97. And after that, it will be $197, still an early bird offer. And there is also on that page, I started to write up what's going to happen during the event. So if you are curious and want kind of a pointed thing, it's over there as well. So we had some cute conversations within the Mystique Facebook group yesterday.
Yay! What's going on?
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about the holographic theory.
Yes, I was thinking about that yesterday. That's too funny.
Yeah, yeah, I tapped into some dragons, and over there, there's some love that. I tapped into some dragons.
Yeah.
Wow. So over there, I wrote some of what came through as far as their thoughts about the holographic theory.
Okay.
So that was kind of cool. I can share just a little bit of that with you if you'd like.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
can't bring that up without sharing with the whole
in
group.
fact, I think that it's I think it's funny, when this question came up, I was thinking of it totally different than what they said to me too. And I think I kind of feel like every time I get some of these messages, I have to put it around a wrapper, like you can't make this stuff up. I'm like, maybe I need to write a book. You can't make this stuff up. So basically, they started with saying this reality is something you perceive. It's a projection, but it's not like lifeless or synthetic. We're not like robots, but really it's a living holograph, an intelligent mirror of your vibrational state. Each thought, emotion, and energetic imprint casts ripples across the crystalline matrix. The world you see isn't false. It's just they said infinitely moldable, which kind of means to me it's like clay, right? It's actable, it's programmable, and we do it every day, all day with our frequencies. So it's like we're not trapped in a hologram, we're kind of the programmer instead.
Yes, very
Yeah,
much
we,
so.
we know that, but it was like the way that they said it, it kind of made a little more clarity.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can see that.
Yeah,
One of the QHHT practitioners who's well known as Sarah Brex McComb, she basically said that, and she just did a post that I thought that was very interesting. And I'm going to paraphrase here. She said during one of her sessions, she said the higher self, higher source. And so during QHHT sessions, you can also speak with higher self and source. And it's basically the consciousness that runs through the all knowing. And it explained that she said, while there's why is there so much suffering? And why do I keep seeing, why do we keep seeing so much suffering throughout the world? It's really hard to sometimes smile when you know that there's so much suffering going on. And the words that came back were very astounding. The higher source said, some of what you are seeing throughout the world, and it kind of pains me to say this, is not real.
hmm
It,
it's the lens of your perception, right?
it
Is that
is.
what it means? Yeah,
And so you can interpret that however you want to, but it was basically saying, and my interpretation was the holographic and the word NPC, non-player character,
right.
popped into my head. Whereas you have, those people that you have in your realm, right? Like if you get on the subway and you see people that are there, but you have no intention of interacting with them. They're there, they're doing their thing. You may even watch them for a little while, but you don't have any real interaction. Of course, we're all one, but those people could be an NPC for you, whereas I can be an NPC for other people, right? I'm in their realm, just like when I was in Disney. Some people were passing me by, and I'm not doing anything to influence really their lives. I'm just filling their screen, if you will, their holographic screen. So I could be an NPC, a non-player character for them. Now, this is all theory, of course, right? So, but these are interesting concepts as we look at and how we ask questions of our higher self and source. Then you can start to go into how these dynamics really play into our world, into our creation. And we can use things like QHHT, even the Akashic Records readings. I really love QHHT first because it goes deeper and faster. I give Jenith a session. She knows firsthand, right? And it also helps to explain how all of these things really work together. And so I think that's interesting. It's so interesting that it's up right now.
Yeah. Yeah. When we choose these topics, sometimes I don't know what the topic is, which is why I was in the Facebook group kind of playing with where is this topic going to go, right? Because I asked the group, I'm like, hey, give us a topic. And it's just so cool because this really is up in my world right now.
Hmm.
This playing with this remembrance because it seems like suddenly these veils are being lifted quite for real. And I'm having like deeper awarenesses and clearer communications. And I just think it's fascinating. And I really never thought that I would be this. I mean, talk about talk about something that you're creating in this reality, right? Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
creating this reality, me as, this Arcturian Dragon channel now. Like that's never anything that I would have been like, I'm going to put that out there. But if you've been following along and you know me, that's something that I'm almost so excited about that it's almost like as soon as I got to meet some of these channels and I got to think, hey, I can do that too. It's like I got so excited that maybe I could do it too. And I feel like that amplified energy, that yes to it, really was what drew it in so that I could create a greater life through my holographic reality.
And how does that help other people, right?
Right. Well, I mean, I think almost this whole audience can say how it's helping other people. I mean, it's helping them really understand what they are as a multidimensional being. It's
Yes,
helping
yes.
them, live a greater life as a multidimensional being. I mean, you just talked about like seeing through the lens of perception. Basically, if you are just sad and depressed, it doesn't matter if you go to Hawaii and take a vacation, you're still you there and you're still sad, depressed, and miserable.
Everywhere you go, there you
Right.
are.
Right. You complain, you shuffle around, you do things. But then when you work with these energies, as we have, you just become happy and people like to be around you. And I think you like to be around you, and you don't even care if people are around because you just enjoy yourself. And I feel like I've finally hit an area in my life where I'm just enjoying myself and I enjoy like creating this business along with even learning about the frequencies too. So it's
Yeah.
like I've got everything suddenly,
And I love that. Thank
right?
you for sharing that. And when I remind people when we're using the word I a lot, like
Yeah.
Jennifer's using a lot of I right now, but what that means is that how does that translate for the audience? And so if you're new to us, in a lot of ways, all of these things that we experience, she's just being a model for us all, right? So it really expressing that in her fullness and saying how she's feeling really lets us have a sense of inspiration. And so I just wanted to stress that. So if you're hearing us for the first time, it's not that we're just talking about ourselves the whole time. We're really expressing this so that you too can know that there is an opening here for you and that there is a way of looking and operating within this life by doing all of these different things, right? All of the different things that we share from this show, from the speakers, from our own experiences, from the different types of modalities, the works, the ideas to even just ponder. Even if you don't subscribe to it, we are all different facets of this, what I always call a signature resonance. Your signature resonance is completely, absolutely not by chance. It's not some coincidence. You are absolutely planned here on earth at this time because it is needed. And you are so uniquely you that no one else can experience the things that you experience. So you have to be a piece of this puzzle. And you were meant to. Even the people that are passing away now, right, that are choosing to go ahead and exit Earth at this time, they have contributed their signature resonance. And for us to not be playing full out is to almost be denying ourselves, not only ourselves, but to be denying our fellow humans too, right?
Right.
Their experiences. So as Jeneth is freed and as she's having this experience, we all have that for ourselves too.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Tiffany writes in the chat, I often wonder how those in the Matrix are experienced this lifting of the veil. And my guess is they're trying to hold on to this reality that they know as tight as they can. And, have you ever tried to hold on to water as tight as you can? Like it just literally slips through your fingers. So it creates this like denseness, this clenching. And instead of this like, hey, I'm here for it. And I feel like as we've had these conversations with some actual people as beings, I really feel like that's helping us star seeds really understand how, you don't have to suffer this reality if you just have some of the tools to really help you go, oh, okay, that judgment that somebody just hit me with, that was their point of view. Like that's one of the simplest tools anyone can do. We feel hurt by this reality, and instead we are not necessarily hurt by this reality. We're hurt because our perspective and our point of view thinks that it might be true about ourselves, and we don't even question it. And that's, I think, a travesty that people have not been taught from birth, that they need to question what people say about them. I mean, that's just one simple tool that we've got in this like, massive land of the multidimension. I was going to do a reel yesterday about ADHD, but then I decided to just keep it kind of light and say it's about being you. But I really feel like ADHD has actually allowed me to like play in multi realities. And I'm like, wow, that really is a capacity and that's probably why more people seem to be experiencing it and having it. You just have to know how to hone it. So back to you, Leonka.
Well, I totally agree. But I also believe that you don't have to have any type of or diagnosed anything in order to access this as well. I think
Great.
it's just another piece of the capacity that we're really realizing. I think to give a shout out to one of the other podcasts that are doing a good job of kind of really showcasing this is the telepathy tapes. They
Uh-huh.
talked about a lot about how ADHD has now been showing how it's a capacity, right? And we just kind of take that conversation and we take it further and we say, okay, great. Now that we're knowing these things and now that society is really caught up to showing us all these different ways in which these neurospicy different ailments or had been considered ailments in the past are really these really amazing essences of ourselves and of ourself in this lifetime.
Mhm.
One of the things that I think is important to highlight when Jenna first started this conversation was that she talked about past lives in her past, right? So she was trying to ask the question about, well, why is it, how do I view past lives or lives or multidimensional lives really is a better word for this. And she talked about maybe redefining that. And yes, I do agree that it is a multidimensional essence because we are looking at the different facets that make up the whole of this crystalline uh, it's an exposure, right? A crystalline exposure that happens to within each one of us and in within of our lives. So each piece makes up that facet. And you, my friend, are that beautiful signature resonance of the facet. Now, the problem is that we forget. And so that's where Jenna had the separation. She was seeing the past lives as back here, as opposed to so as opposed to together, right? As simultaneously happening at the same time. And so there is a sense of remembrance. And so for her mind, she was saying, okay, if it's in the past, then I need to bring it forward. Well,
Mhm.
no, that's not
Right.
necessarily always the case. You can be a sense of remembrance simultaneously while all of these things are happening, even in future lifetimes, right? So it is better to call it multidimensional experiences within ourselves and as facets of our own soul because we make up the bigger of the whole. I hope all of this is landing for you.
Yeah, I get it.
Now, the problem is that we made this oath, and I keep saying this all the time. When we came in and birth, we also made an oath. We created the Maya, the illusion, through birth to forget. So we forgot we were pieces of all of this existence, and that our soul is having these different experiences simultaneously. And then we also said, I want to play this role and create this simulation, this game experience, so that I can learn these karmic lessons and have that be freed for the rest of humanity as in our point of ascension. When we look at these together, though, we can also really, when we have a remembrance, you can have a remembrance of those simultaneous lifetimes, those simultaneous really beautiful essences that make up this wonderful multifaceted soul. So
Mm.
where you say, where you have those problems where you say, oh my gosh, I'm not like A, B, or C, or when I walk around and I say, I'm so clumsy. Well, I could have been a tight line walker, right? Or I could have been a really, really great trapeze performance artist. I'm using this as a silly reference, and I can call upon that piece of myself to bring myself more clarity, more non-clumsiness in this lifetime. Let me give you an example. So this weekend we went to, and it's a silly example, but I'm going to give it to you. So this weekend, because I know this information now and I know these things about myself, and I know that I have past life experiences or multidimensional experiences of my soul, and we got thousands upon thousands. And even if you don't believe this in a religious concept, you can know that there are essences and pieces of your soul that has had other experiences, because our soul is so, it is so multidimensional and it is so grand that pieces of it can have all of these different experiences to make up this particular Leonka, this particular soul in this place right here. I'm in this dimension I'm having with you. So when we went on this, we signed up for this trip, and we went on a cruise, and one of the cruise things, it was like you do an excursion, right? And I really wanted for my son to have a really fun experience. And the other things like ziplining were already kind of booked up. And there was this one, it was like kayaking to a blowhole, right? First of all, the idea of the blowhole kind of makes me nervous, because I heard a story of a blowhole where this man fell in and he got trapped under there, and he didn't make it, right? He exited Earth. So, and it was on the same day we had gone to go see a blowhole. And this is just walking up to the blowhole. This particular excursion was kayaking, which I've never done, in the bay, ocean type waters, to go and see this blowhole. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, my son is 13. He's never kayaked. My husband's never kayaked. And so I'm thinking, this has got to be not so good. I don't know. I'm really, really nervous. And as the day came, I was even more nervous that morning, and and my son noticed that I was super nervous, right? So I'm sitting there, but I also I love adventure, and I really believe in doing things that kind of put you outside of your comfort zone, right? You're gonna have a great experience. And we had some really great rides, but I just hadn't ever done it before, and I was worried about him and his, are we strong enough swimmers? Like, what happens if we capsize? Like all the things, right? So all of a sudden I'm sitting there and I'm really scared, and and I just start going. I do my little like clearing process, and I try to relieve my fears, but I'm not talking. And my son notices that I'm not talking, and I'm super quiet. Normally I'm singing, and I'm having a good time with wherever I'm at. And so I'm just like really, really quiet. And he's in the kayak with me, sitting in front. And and then Roy's on his separate kayak over here. And so they teach us, how to do the rowing, right? And so I realized that I'm like, I don't even know how to row really. Like, I don't know. And so I'm like, okay. So then all of a sudden I go, okay, which part of me, what lifetime has ever done kayaking and is a super kayaker? And I like just start settling in, and I'm okay, where's the knowing of this from before?
Mhm.
Where is the knowing of this from before? Where's the knowing of the ocean? So I start connecting with the ocean. I start connecting with my inner kayaker, or inner, just inner like navigation, inner rowing navigation of the seas. And I start connecting, and I'm like, okay, from that lifetime, this experience, this expertise, come forth. And I just breathed into it. And lo and behold, me and Ryzen, which my 13-year-old, we were like leading the pack. We were beating out like other people because we were so synchronized. I just remember telling him, I was like, okay, every time we start on the right. I don't know where that came from. But as soon as we stopped, we were like, okay, I'd be like, right. And then I just fell into a rhythm. And it just came from a place of knowing. And and he did too. And so we just kept going forth and forth. And like we look back and my husband's way back there and we're right up with the guide. We're like leading the pack. It was really, really fascinating. And we got to experience this blowhole that was so beautiful. And I wasn't afraid anymore as we navigated these huge swells. So I
Right.
just share that with you because we can use our multidimensional experiences and our other selves that are having these parallel lives, right? To bring forth that expertise. So if you ever come up and you're going, okay, I've got this big speech to give, I will call upon my other person that knows how to give great speeches or an
Mhm.
actress, right? You can channel in these other aspects of your soul to become the whole and be more fierce and steadfast in your expertise. So that was just one that I really used because I was super duper nervous. Like I'm nervous for my life nervous. And I hadn't been like that in like it was one of the few times I'd ever really felt that nervous. So Tiffany says, wow, a powerful process, Leonka. Thanks for sharing with us. And she also says, I'm glad you had such a great experience and a fun adventure to choose. And we had an amazing time. We didn't take any pictures because I was so scared to take
You could
anything.
lose your camera or something.
I didn't want one more thing to worry about. But
Well,
I
and
did
can
have
I just add
myself,
two little things around that?
yeah,
One is, if you really feel like the universe has your back in every one of these situations, that's another way to kind of call it in. And it's funny, I had an interview with somebody once that said, I was learning how to ski. So I tapped into like the ski instructor and I started to bring in the aspects of learning how to ski from him. And he's like, and then there's other aspects that of him that I was like, oof, no, don't want that. It's like all contracted and stuff. But you can pull in these frequencies from, anywhere when you ask the question and open up the frequency to do so. So I just thought I
yeah, and I
would.
think it's even more powerful when you know you can do it from your own soul,
Mhm.
from your parallel lives,
Right.
from your own
It-
experience, the expertise, and so you don't have to have all that other cruddy stuff that comes with with the instructor's other frequencies. But
Yeah.
it can be of the highest good, and so it gives you this sense of self and sensibility that I have done this.
Yeah.
I, me, my soul. So it's really exciting.
Well, and I think that that's some of the value of past life regression
Exactly.
is realizing, wow, there's more than what's right here. And
Hmm.
I labeled this remembering you because I feel that that's really like pulling in the aspects of you. I think it's
Yes,
such a big
exactly.
story. Would you want to talk, do you want to talk a little bit about like what have you found with working with past life regression is really like key for people? Like, what are they really coming back and saying that they're, different and how it's changed them? And give us some of the
Well,
stories.
I will. And I wanted to maybe we start with you. Could you share a little bit about, what was key for you? I know that I forced you to go
Yeah.
back and listen to your recordings because first of all, your higher self was telling me that. So I stay really connected with someone's higher self and source even after the sessions. And the session, just to give you a little bit of idea, I'll throw it back to you to talk about that. But just to give you a little bit of idea. So when we do a past life regression, to give you the full explanation, it's basically where I use a process called the QHHT. So it's quantum hypnotic healing process taught by Dolores Cannon. It's I use her official one. There's different versions. And then I also use the Akashic pathway prayer as a blend to re-access a lot of the information that we had gotten through your past life regression. But the actual session uses a kind of a fast way of hypnosis to access lives that you have possibly lived. Now, to give you an example, I have never known the life. I didn't access the life of me being a kayaker or with the ocean in one of my sessions. But because of knowing what I know now about having lived very many multi dimensions that we probably couldn't even access all, and definitely not in one session. We usually go back into three different lives that the higher self or source, your higher source, connected to source, yourself connected to source, will show us. And it's because they will show you those particular past lives because they want you to have an experience, particularly to see something uh that will help you in this lifetime. Usually it's a place where we get trapped up. And a lot of times people will come to me if they have like an inkling, if they think that they may have had some type of past life. And so I'm just going to read to you a couple of different, things that people might be experiencing and fit, like in their current life that makes them think that they have a past life. So, general, so if you think that you might have a past life, sometimes people will come in, they'll have a general sense of like an easiness or a sadness, anxiety. They have physical symptoms that might ail them. They may have an unusual birthmark, which will usually always reveal itself in a past life regression session. They also, people will explain that they will have like some type of like, maybe they're having hormone distress. They usually don't know that they're experiencing that, but they're having some type of ailment, or they may have a really strong phobia. Like there was a lady that came to me one time and she had a really strong phobia of the water, like would not, and I'm a water baby, so I couldn't even understand that. But every time that people wanted to go swimming, anytime that she just would, she, did showers, but that's it. Could not take a bath, could not be submerged in water. And what the past life revealed was that she had been drowned. So
Mhm.
she had made it an oath not to ever be submerged in water again. And so she rejected it. And even though her children, her grandchildren were their water babies, they wanted to go swimming all the time. And she just felt like she couldn't even participate, and it was really ailing her life now that she was getting a little bit older, and she wanted to finally know what this was from and have that be revealed to her. And so what the higher self and source can do is it actually can do the body scan, and you go through the past life, and I asked the past life, you know this is what's going on for her. So then it showed her where she had been drowned as a young girl, on a date with a guy. They had drove off a bridge and she had been submerged. And she was like, man, I really should have listened to my family and not gone with him on that drive. And now I'm floating to the bottom of this ocean or whatnot. It was a body of water. And so she goes, I realize now. And I was like, well, this is really bothering her in her life now, and she's made an oath not to ever be submerged in the water. Is this something we can work on? It was like, yes. They wanted her to be aware of the water and to be aware of where sometimes that she may have not listened to family or taken good advice, right? Like she was not listening to people, but it was showing up still as her oath of not wanting to get in the water. So we were able to clear that whole process and run that for her. And so the trauma was released. And so as she was able to call on her experience and understand it and put it in its place, she now could relieve herself of that oath. And so she broke the oath and relieved and dissolved it. And now she's able to take her kids swimming. Like, I mean, she's not full on like a swimmer,
Mm.
but she's like, in the water and standing with them and enjoying herself. Like, those are just the little things of ways. I mean, it could be anything phobias are a big one, but it also could be
That's true
anything.
about hypnosis too.
Yeah. And
You know,
that's what
that
it
is
is.
why
It is hypnosis.
people know that, like they know, I can't do this. Like, so it's either addictive or phobia.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what quantum hypnotic. So hypnotic is, it
Yeah.
is hypnosis, and that
Right.
is what it does. It is hypnosis, and it takes you through, and so just adds another layer to the whole process where you can actually see it,
Hmm.
and so that you can experience the difference. And so
Yeah.
just knowing sometimes what your past life might have been or your life experience in that time could have been helps you to move through the whole of it.
Mhm.
It's for some people. And for some people, it can take a process and you just did the hypnosis and you're fine. But for others, sometimes it's a little more deeper than that they would have to see. And so the higher self will give them that information. So I asked one day too, why don't we have all of this information already ready? What's the point of all the amnesia? Well, it was like, what is the experience? It basically was kind of joking with me. It was like basically was saying, what is the experience that you would have if you were to know all of these past lives? In fact, it would probably, in some cases, for many, ail them more to know the experiences. Like if she was readily always pulling on that memory of drowning, it'd probably be even more traumatizing, right?
Mhm.
If you came into Earth with all of that too. Or the other part is that you wouldn't have the karmic lesson. You would just be like, I've done this before, and you could be blowing it off. So it's very important that we have these karmic experiences so that we can help ascension and really have the full growth and the gravity of all of the things that are really beautiful for us here on Earth
Mhm.
as our experience. Remember, we chose this. We chose to have this experience very much to the same aspect that Jenith was saying about the holographic game and a simulation. These are all of our doing. We picked our parents, we picked our experiences, we picked the lessons. I picked all of the people that are sitting here today to be part of my soul group, right? To elevate with me. Jenith, I've worked with her in my past life. And we've had other speakers tell us that. As we know that more and more now. Like she's even asked in her QHHT session, how do me and Leonka, have worked together. I've asked, about our business, and it's basically a lot of the information we get back, we're like, oh yeah, that's true, right? We've been truth tellers for a long time, or truth showers, and sharing before. I've been persecuted for those things. Many people who are star seeds and light workers who will hear our show have also been persecuted, burned at the stake many times for sharing this type of information, because if it was out, there were many who wanted to keep this information suppressed because it makes it harder for them to control us if we have this much intelligence and this much knowing and access of our psychic abilities and our ability to know that we were actually the creators and manipulators of this simulation. Staying in fear keeps us uninformed. It
Yeah.
does. It keeps us meek and uninformed, and it keeps us more of a slaveries, and it also keeps us from migrating around the earth as well, right? So we have lots of different boundaries of where we can travel to, where we can exist at. And if we knew that we could use our minds to experience different parts of the earth and then maybe want to go seek out those different parts of the earth, then we are not as controllable in the minds of some, right? And some powers that had been at one time. But now that I just read an article the other day from another spiritual guru, if you will, one of the people that I follow. He basically stated that we have ascended, that the knowledge, the amount of people waking up to the dream, to the Maya, has been faster in the last 4 years than it has ever been before. And then within the last 4 months than it ever has been before. And even in the last 4 weeks and days, we are accelerating at mass speeds. And as we access, and I challenge each one of us to really try and to bring in our multidimensional selves into our everyday lives. So if you have a place where there's something ailing you, call upon your other inner kayaker, if you will, right? Call upon those other aspects of yourself to get yourself through. And I think this is a really big key piece in our level of ascension and our strength here on humanity.
Yeah. What one of the questions on the chat is, have you ever been an antagonist to each other?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that we must have been. Probably, yeah. And wouldn't it make sense for a star seed to be like, you're going to go to Earth, but we're going to wipe clean everything. But don't worry, because you're still going to find each other, and you're still going to, find the lovers that you don't want to forget. Don't worry
Yeah.
about that. But
Yeah.
we are going to wipe you clean. And I think as a star seed, you're like, wipe me clean in a way, right?
Yeah, you're like,
I
I
mean,
got this. Let's
it seems
go.
a
I
little bit better than maybe it should be, right? I mean, how much of this are we trying to quote clear or
Yeah.
heal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if a lot of the damage I feel like happened in this lifetime for a lot of people too. When you took me on the QHHT journey, I really was like, hey, I'm kind of, having these like moments of this life where I had, quote, created my own trauma. In my case, it's because of who I had already become by the time I was like a little child or 16.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Joe writes, what if we're all antagonists to each other? Because I think we would have to be because, even like everyone can push your buttons.
Oh yeah, even
Yeah.
the people that you love the most, right? Your spouse and stuff. You reverse roles. You play roles for each other. You actually ask each other, and then I've read in some of the books from Dolores Kenneth and Michael Newton's books where they will almost be antagonizing each other until they get to the other side and they're like, ha ha ha, I really
Yeah.
played. They were like, oh my gosh, you were so awful in that life. Like
Mhm.
you really got under my skin. And, they really, really record all of this stuff. And they almost have like a sense of like humor about it. They were like, man, you played that role so well. And I let you, and I totally forgot. And they were like, you did, that kind of emotion behind it. And I thought that was fascinating because they're saying all of this on the recording while they're under their hypnosis, while they're under their
Yeah.
regression. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow, this makes me think of
fascinating.
something yeah. In the book Fourth Wing, there are scribes that actually, now I'm like, wonder how insightful she was she like an Akashic scribe, right? But what they say is like they'll take a generation and they scribe it, and then anything that doesn't belong in the next generation, then it's like sent out like for forbidden text. So nobody lives
Mm.
upon that old information, even if some of it is actually true.
Well, I think
Like
there's
changing
always,
the Akash.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, look, the bigger thing here, the biggest thing here is that we would not be having this experience if it wasn't for a beautiful reason to assist us all. And we are very, very special in the fact that it's never been done before where the entire earth is ascending in the way that
Mhm.
we do. And so the other benevolent beings that are so loving and I can really feel their presence right now big time because a lot of the information that came through with the Nostradamus information projected the time of this unease in our world. And a lot of our ascended masters and our galactic beings are really close to us right now. But one of the things that I think is important is that we still have free will. And that is why we are having this experience. And so whenever we get frustrated, remember that we can always call upon what is my highest path? What is my highest choice here? And really ask our higher selves, even just in a quiet moment. You don't even have to do all the things, just in a really quiet moment with all your heart and just breathe into it and ask, what is my next best step here? You don't have to get the information right away, but you will always get an answer soon. This is why I always tell everyone to sit down and have a piece of paper or pen and pad by your nightstand or something, because you will get inspired messages. They will come through in
Oh,
different signs. But again, it's because we have free will. But there are also messages that are sent in all the time. Like like you said, the forbidden text. Maybe it wasn't always meant to be like freely shared, but there are
mhm.
messages that are there for us that give us these clues. In fact, whenever we separate in birth, right? So whenever we go in to do these, before we go to separate and birth, while we're still in our soul place, making our kind of setting up our roles, sometimes for certain people, like if it's a soul lover, we'll make these like we'll put like a make a pact, and we'll put like these little like a almost like a sign or explosion, or like a maybe what they call the spark, right? We'll make a little spark, And so that way that person can remember and I can remember. So we'll make a pact to show each other the spark, right? When we
Mhm.
get here to Earth. And that's probably why that is why you see people said, I just felt the sparks flying, right? When they, two people met, when they're like, it's love at first sight or something like that. It's because it's a soul remembrance and because you put that in pact before so that you could recognize each other. And you know how you have those people who are like, I feel like I've seen you my whole life, right? Or for me and Jenna, it's probably whenever the words came in the booming voice that was like, "You're gonna work with her."
Right.
I'm like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
work with
I
her.
was just too
Oh,
close mind to like hear it.
and she was up in the front of the room, right? So she's like talking and giving her speech, and I'm sitting here having this booming voice. And it's probably it was, I know now, it was a way in which I could remember that I'm going to work with this person on a
And
soul level
had to
to share
preserve
this
it.
information. I
Yeah.
had no idea back then, though.
Right. Wow.
So it's fascinating. There's so
Yeah.
many different
That's,
places we could go with this
I
conversation, but
know. I know.
it's
This was fun though, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But I mean, I think the big takeaway is you know, time isn't linear and
Yes.
that we should literally play with this access of remembrance as much as we can.
Yeah, very much so. And we're at time right now, but I can take us through a meditation to do that and we'll record it and we'll have that for you available under our free resources now that we're getting some other things set up as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, just a couple reminders before we wrap is reminder about the live event, houthustle.com/early bird that ends the 30th. Also, the summit recordings end the 30th. They're $47 right now. They will go up to 97 if you want those. Look for that. It's houthustle.com/mystique. Not mystique with a Q, but mystic, actually.
Mystic Channel. Mystic.
Houthustle.com/mystic.
Yes.
These will all be in the newsletter all week and reminders. Tomorrow, I am on someone else's show doing about a 25-minute dragon timeline hypnosis. And then Thursday, Leonka is going to be on the show talking about QHHT. So look for that in the newsletter, and some information will also be in the caption on YouTube. Just a reminder, if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, go to houthustle.com and subscribe to the newsletter. And if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please like, click, and subscribe and do all those good things so that you can get our information on YouTube as well.
Yep. And that's what we got. So just
Yep.
reminding everybody to take a little time to enjoy the woo.
Yep. Bye, everyone.
Have a good one.